ESPN Cleveland, the pregame show, and be able to catch the game on Mix as well, Mix 104.1. But now it is Walker Valley Day here on the Drive, and we've got Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Good to talk to you again. Talked to you about an hour and a half ago, and now we're back at it, dude. It's football time. I was saying earlier in the show, front door attack, knock, knock, football's here, baby. It's exciting.
No doubt, man. That's what I was telling my coaching staff earlier. I was like, man, I had an interview, and then we have varsity practice, and then I got an interview, and then I have Youth League non-U practice, and then I have another interview tonight. So it's very obviously football season again.
Coach, tell our fans out there, the Walker Valley faithful out there, what to look for on Thursday night. Give us something that you feel like is going to excite the Walker Valley fan base.
Oh, man. Our guys have worked incredibly hard. It's been a long summer. I thought our summer went great. We had great attendance, and our guys worked hard. Summer is all about getting stronger and trying to keep them interested. The last 3 weeks, we played great opponents. We went up against Red Bank, who is going to be a real tough team in 4A, and then we went against Ringgold, which is a great program in North Georgia. And then last Friday against Farragut, which Coach Courtney's doing a great job at Farragut. So I feel like we've had a great camp preparing us for this season. But when you look towards Thursday, I don't think it's going to take much to get excited about Thursday. It's a opening Friday night or Thursday night. It's a county rivalry game. It's guys that know each other, playing on the field against each other. It shouldn't take much to get excited about Friday night. So I know our guys have had a great week, and they're really fired up to get on a football field against somebody in a different color in a game that means something.
Coach, we talked about, a couple different things on the show, but one of the statements that you made was creating a culture that kids want to stick around and be a part of. Kind of talk about your culture that's grown this offseason and who the leaders we're going to be looking at on Thursday night this week, but Friday nights in the future.
Yeah, I think in the world that we live in today, it's very similar to college programs. We've talked about it a lot, honestly, on this program in the last couple of years. You've got to create a culture within your building that does a couple things. One, that keeps kids invested and interested in being there. But then also that's strong enough that when transfers come in, which is bound to happen, that the culture outweighs and teaches new guys how we act and how we behave in our program. So I think there's a lot to that question. But ultimately, man, our guys have done a great job buying in to what we preach. We preach the same stuff now for 7 years. We've kind of put a new spin on it, but ultimately we're all about being a disciplined football team, doing the right thing, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how it's supposed to be done. We talk about commitment, talk about toughness and effort, and then we talk about pride and everything that we do, and pride in Walker Valley High School and pride in our program. So it's something that we've built a culture here over the last 7 years that I hope is strong enough to withstand any of the movement, anything that goes against us. We're able to fight adversity because the mindset that we put in our kids.
We're chatting with Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins. Of course, all high school football coverage here on ESPN Cleveland, presented by Food City. Coach, one thing we talked about earlier in the show before you joined us was environments of all three local high schools, how everyone has a unique Friday night atmosphere. Of course, this week it's the ESPN Cleveland 101.3 community kickoff on a Thursday. So is there anything specific? We know the way the schedules kind of reset from last year. You guys played at Cleveland last year, and you kind of got to see the bells and the whistles. You got to see the flashing LED lights. You got to see all the different noise aspects that they have in that stadium and the things that they're proud of over there. Is there anything specific that you do to prepare your team for that type of environment?
Oh, man. I think ultimately we don't do anything particularly to prepare, but I do think we talk a lot just about the emotions of the game. You know, those things are all about creating emotion, creating an environment that emotions take over on either side. So, you know, we talk a lot about not letting, the emotions of the game or the emotions of the atmosphere dictate the way we act on the field. It doesn't dictate, how we conduct ourselves. It doesn't dictate, the way we execute on offense and on defense. So, we play music at practice, so our kids that's not foreign to our program. And honestly, we've turned it up a little bit this week just in case, because we do know how loud that can be. But ultimately, it is an emotional game, and you have to find a way to play emotional and play with passion, but not let that emotion and passion control your actions. Because when you get that emotional, you make mistakes. So that's ultimately what we talk about, is trying to make sure that we control ourselves and that we do what we coach to do while still playing with great passion and effort.
Coach, I'm so glad you brought up that you're playing music, because we got in a little bit of disagreement here earlier on the show. I want your opinion, and it doesn't matter. We know what the rules are. Your opinion, should bands be allowed to play while the offense is trying to call plays?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I've been outvoted 3-1 now. I've been outvoted 3-1.
Jim's talking to the head coach of the Walker Valley Mustangs, and everyone knows the impact that Walker Valley band has.
That's true. But I know, in college you can't do it, but I just think artificial noisemakers should not be allowed while the teams are trying to call plays. But that's just, I'm in the minority, and I get it.
Yeah, here's what I think. I think, those kids work really hard, and I know that sounds silly, but man, I'm telling you, during that week or the month of July, our band outworks us, and there's no doubt in my mind. They're here, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. They're working on a show. They're working on Stan's tunes. They're working on all this stuff, and that group of kids deserves to be able to put on a show and impact the game. I played against Walker Valley when I was at Red Bank. I played against Walker Valley when I was at Ottawa, and I promise you, I will tell you this, I have never seen a band impact the game like the Walker Valley band impacted the game when I was at Red Bank. They absolutely caused confusion and caused it a difficulty, and I'll tell you, it's a weapon for us. When you put that band in the end zone and you're down there in that end zone and you're trying to come out from that end zone and that band's playing loud behind your head, it is definitely a weapon that, if the Tito display allows it, then I'm all for it. So we've been told multiple times we got to cut it out, and we'll look up the rule. We have the rule on hand to show that we don't have to stop playing.
That's called being prepared, is what that is. Hey, one thing that I do want to talk about when it comes to preparation, obviously it's well documented. You and Chris Brown go way back. You coached together at Red Bank. You coached together at Ottawa. When it comes to this game Thursday night, obviously first year of his tenure at Cleveland, how much of a chess match is it going to be between you guys with tendencies?
Yeah, I do think there's an element to that because we do know each other so well. I mean, me and Chris Brown sat in the office together from 2013 until 2015. We shared an office. We both had a desk in there. And every single day we would spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on a whiteboard just talking ball and talking about how, the offense can win versus a defense on the board. And, I think because of that, you learn a lot about each other, about what each other wants to do and what the priorities are. He knows those things about me. I know those things about him. I do think, over the last 7 years, we haven't been together. We haven't seen each other evolve. Chris Brown at Baylor evolved into a totally different defense than he was running at Red Bank. Quite honestly, I have evolved as an offensive play caller and offensive coordinator over the last 7 years, and we do totally different things than we did when I was at Ottawa and Red Bank. But ultimately, it's definitely two coaches that know each other really well. That know what we're trying to accomplish and trying to get our kids to do the right thing throughout. But it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I truly love Chris Brown. He's one of my best friends in the world. We talk daily, whether it be via text or on the phone. We call each other and ask questions about this head coaching job that's so tough sometimes. So what I'm most looking forward to is going and competing against him and then walking across the field no matter what the scoreboard says and hugging his neck and telling him I love him. And then we're cheering for each other the rest of the way.
Coach, another thing we know this game, as you said, it's going to be filled with emotions. And you talk about adding a different dynamic to those emotions. I'm sitting here looking at your starter list for this Thursday, and Chase Stevens at quarterback and Sawyer Boyd at wide receiver. No, very notable. They came from Cleveland. What type of emotions are going through those two guys' heads right now? Because this is a game right out of the gate that you're playing the team where you came from.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult things that we're going to have to battle this week, on both sides. I think there's kids there that stayed there that are definitely going to battle the emotions of playing against guys that they practiced against last year. I think the guys on our side are going to battle those emotions of wanting to prove that they came here and that they have an opportunity to compete against their old high school. I think those are the emotions that we're going to have to, as a coaching staff, make sure that we control. I mean, it's something that we've got to watch those things. Got to make sure our kids are not playing out of emotion, but within our system. So it's something we've definitely had a conversation with. We got 5 starters that played for Cleveland last year that are starting for us this year. And listen, it's the world we live in. It's the world we're going to live in. So it's definitely something that's going to have to be talked about and something that we're going to have to put in front of our guys. And they have to be disciplined enough to make good decisions when they're on the field.
Well, Coach, man, I tell you what, we're excited about being out there Thursday. And I know that what are you going to do when you first wake up Thursday morning? What's your go-to first thing you're going to do? Don't go too personal. Don't be too personal, but
Yeah. Thursday morning, typically, on Fridays it's a little different because on Fridays you have a routine. With it being Thursday, you're kind of out of routine. Typically, I try to take my daughter to school. Normally, I don't get to do that, but Thursdays, or game days, I typically try to take my daughter to school. We'll stop and get some Chick-fil-A. Because that's probably the only meal that I'll eat all day. So if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I probably won't eat the rest of the day.
Got to get a little nourishment, little Lord's chicken there.
Yeah, trying to get something on my stomach, and then man, it really is just trying to keep a routine through the day, making sure call sheets are ready, making sure depth charts, special team depth charts, all those things that you need to have for a game are ready to go. And then ultimately making sure your kids have a routine so they feel comfortable going into a game. When you get on the bus, when you do this, when you do that, all that is stuff that I find peace in. So having a good plan and making sure we're ready to execute that plan means a lot to me. So that's my typical Thursday game day routine is making sure that I'm ready and our teams are ready to go play.
Coach, last thing I've got for you, I want to go to the defensive side of the ball for a second. A guy that we saw really have an impact is Braylon Beard. If you could talk about what he means to your defense.
Yeah, Braylon's a great player, and he's played for 2 years, 2 years for us, been 1 year as a starter. And, man, he is a quiet kid. But I'll tell you, last week at Farragut, we kind of had a dead start to the game. And, we were looking for some energy, and Braylon always seems to provide that. He plays so fast at the linebacker. He's all over the field, and ultimately we kind of go as he goes. So having him on the field again this year as a junior, starting for us again at Mike, it's going to be a really important thing for us to rally behind him and for him to play with great energy and effort. And when he does that, we typically play really well on defense.
Well, Coach, we're super excited to talk to you today. We